How do outlaws fit into our history? What role do they play in shaping our understanding of the past? These are questions that have intrigued historians and enthusiasts alike for centuries. Outlaws, with their reckless abandon of societal norms and their audacious defiance of the law, have always occupied a contentious space in our collective memory. One such figure who has left an indelible mark on history is Harry Tracy, a man often considered the last outlaw of the Wild West. Born Harry Sievers in Wisconsin in 1875, Tracy's life was a whirlwind of daring escapes, ruthless killings, and relentless manhunts. His audacious escape from the Oregon State Penitentiary in June 1902 and the ensuing manhunt involving over 1,000 lawmen and the National Guard captivated the nation. Yet, his story is not a simple one. Reports of his actions were often sensationalized, with various tales inspired by his life being inflated or exaggerated. This blending of fact and fiction makes it challenging to separate the man from the myth, to discern the true nature of his outlaw persona. Moreover, Tracy's legacy is a controversial one. His violent rampages, marked by a disregard for life and law, have led some to brand him as a villain of the highest order. But there was also a certain code of conduct he adhered to, often sparing civilians, which adds layers of complexity to our understanding of him. His life, his actions, and the societal response to his crimes reflect a fascinating period in history. A time when the lawlessness of the Wild West was giving way to a more civilized yet still tumultuous society. Tracy, in many ways, embodies this transition, the fading of the Wild West. But what does this all mean? What can we learn from the life and legacy of Harry Tracy? These are questions we aim to explore in this series as we delve deeper into the life, crimes, and lasting impact of this infamous outlaw. So stay with us as we delve deeper into the life of Harry Tracy, the last wild outlaw. Born as Harry Sievers in 1875 in Wisconsin, the man who would become Harry Tracy had a tumultuous start to life. In a time when America was still grappling with its identity, the young Harry Sievers was doing the same. His early years were not marked by grandeur or privilege, but by hardship and struggle. Born into a modest family, he was shaped by the harsh realities of the late 19th century Midwest. His upbringing was a tapestry woven with threads of poverty, limited opportunities, and a certain sense of desperation that was all too common in the era. It was in these formative years that Harry Sievers began to tread the path that would eventually lead him to become Harry Tracy, the notorious outlaw. His descent into the world of crime was not sudden or unexpected, but rather a slow and steady progression. As a young man, Tracy found himself ensnared in a world of petty theft, burglary, and horse rustling. These early misdeeds were merely stepping stones, a precursory glimpse into the life of lawlessness that awaited him. In his early 20s, his criminal activities escalated, leading to his first stint behind bars. Prison, however, was not a deterrent for Tracy. Instead, it became a crucible, hardening his resolve and fostering a deeper disdain for the law. His time in incarceration was marked by numerous attempts to escape, each attempt more audacious than the last. It was clear that the confines of prison could not hold this burgeoning outlaw. But it was his daring escape from the Oregon State Penitentiary in June 1902 that truly marked the beginning of his infamy. This event would set the stage for Tracy's most notorious chapter, a chapter filled with desperate pursuits, deadly encounters, and a manhunt that would captivate the nation. As we delve deeper into the life of Harry Tracy, we will uncover the man behind the myth, the human being beneath the outlaw, and the legacy that continues to resonate even today. Tracy's escape from prison was no ordinary breakout. It was a feat that would land him in the annals of history. It was June 1902. The Oregon State Penitentiary, a fortress thought to be unbreachable, was the stage for Harry Tracy's daring escape. This was not a simple dash for freedom. It was a calculated act of defiance, a declaration of war against the system that sought to cage him. Tracy had been planning his escape meticulously. He knew the prison's weak points, the guards' routines, and the exact moment to make his move. And so, on that fateful day, he slipped out of his cell, evaded the watchful eyes of the guards, and made his way to freedom. But Tracy's escape was just the beginning. As news of his breakout spread, a manhunt of unprecedented scale was launched. More than 1,000 lawmen fanned out across the state, their single-minded mission to recapture the elusive outlaw. The National Guard was mobilized, their presence a testament to the gravity of the situation. This was no ordinary manhunt. It was a desperate scramble to restore order, a testament to the societal panic that Tracy's escape had sparked. Every corner of the state was combed, every potential hiding spot scrutinized. The authorities were determined to hunt Tracy down, to bring him to justice, and to end his reign of terror. But Tracy was not one to be easily cornered. He was a wily adversary, always one step ahead of his pursuers. He used his knowledge of the terrain to his advantage, evading capture time and again. His audacity, his cunning, and his sheer will to survive made him a formidable opponent, a phantom that seemed almost impossible to catch. As the manhunt dragged on, Tracy's legend grew. His escape had transformed him from a mere prisoner to a symbol of defiance, a living testament to the spirit of the Wild West. But it was a spirit that came at a deadly cost. His escape and the subsequent manhunt was just the beginning of Tracy's reign of terror. On the run, Tracy left a trail of violence and chaos in his wake. It wasn't just some desperate bid for freedom, it was a reign of terror that would stain the early 20th century with blood. Harry Tracy, the man born as Harry Sievers, was no ordinary fugitive. His escape from the Oregon State Penitentiary in 1902 was just the beginning of a chilling saga of violence and lawlessness that would haunt the nation for months. A reported 7 men fell victim to Tracy's deadly rampage during his flight from justice. These were not just faceless victims, but men with families, with lives that were abruptly and brutally ended by this outlaw on the run. Yet it wasn't just the violence that made this chapter of Tracy's life so chilling. It was the media's role in it all. Newspapers across the country relished the tale of the last wild outlaw, painting vivid pictures of Tracy's crimes and escapes. They fed the public a diet of fear and fascination, sensationalizing every detail of Tracy's misdeeds. The media's portrayal of Tracy was both terrifying and captivating. They painted him as a ruthless killer, a cunning escape artist, and a symbol of the dying days of the Wild West. Every report of a new crime, a new escape, a new sighting only served to enhance his legend. The newspapers of the day didn't just report on Tracy's reign of terror, they helped create it. But while the media reveled in the drama, the reality was far more grim. Each new report of Tracy's crimes brought fresh waves of panic and fear. Communities lived in dread, knowing that this ruthless outlaw was on the loose, knowing that they could be his next victims. Yet, in spite of the fear, there was also a strange fascination with Tracy. The public was captivated by the tale of this last outlaw, this man who dared to defy the law and live by his own rules. Tracy's violent rampage would eventually come to an end, but not before leaving an indelible mark on history. His name became synonymous with the wild, lawless spirit of the frontier days, a symbol of a bygone era. But his legacy was also a stark reminder of the brutal reality of life as an outlaw and the tragic consequences of a life of crime. In August 1902, the wild ride of Harry Tracy came to a tragic end. The final chapter in Tracy's life was as tumultuous as his thrilling escape. Cornered and outnumbered, Tracy chose to meet his fate head-on, ending his life in a final act of defiance. His death sent shockwaves through the nation, leaving the public in a state of bewildered relief. News of his demise spread like wildfire, and the media, as ever, was quick to fan the flames. Sensational reports of his violent end flooded every corner of the country, fueling a mix of fear, relief, and morbid fascination. The manhunt for Tracy had held the nation in its grip, and his death marked the release of a collective breath held in suspense for months. Yet the impact of Tracy's life and death extended beyond his time. His story, woven into the fabric of the Wild West's fading days, became a symbol of a bygone era. Tracy's death marked the end of an era, but his legacy lived on. Harry Tracy's life was a mix of fact and fiction, but his legacy is undeniable. This enigmatic man, born Harry Sievers in 1875, left behind a trail of tales and myths that continue to intrigue us today. His daring escape from the Oregon State Penitentiary and subsequent violent rampage have been the subject of countless stories, songs, and even films, painting a picture of a desperado who lived by his own rules, defying law and order at every turn. But Tracy's story is more than just sensational fodder for popular culture. It's a stark reminder of the fading Wild West, a time when outlaws and lawmen were locked in a tense struggle, and society was grappling with its transition from frontier lawlessness to civilized order. Through his actions, Tracy inadvertently highlighted the societal panic and the extreme lengths that authorities would go to restore order, marking a significant shift in the perception of crime and punishment. Harry Tracy, the last wild outlaw, remains a controversial figure, but his story continues to captivate us, reminding us of a bygone era of lawlessness and desperation.